Here we have Andrew Jobling. Now, Andrew, I have to read out your intro, if that's all right, from Warwick, because it's very compelling. And my father has put this in, so I need to read this out. But
you better read all of them, mate. Don't miss one little bit.
All right. Challenge accepted.
All right.
Andrew Jobling is an unlikely athlete and an accidental author with limited skills. It sounds like you're selling yourself short here, mate.
I am a little bit, yeah.
But some physical prowess.
Typical male thing, hey?
You played professional Australian football for 7 years, and you have 33 years experience in the health and wellbeing industry. So that's quite an intro, mate. Can you tell us more?
Well, how long have you got? I know this is going till midnight, isn't it? And so yeah, I'll probably take most of that. No, unlikely athlete. Yeah, look, I think, because I want to be relevant for what we're talking about today, and that's men and the struggles we have and trying to help men be healthy and live abundantly. I think, I've got two things that have significantly influenced me as a man over my years. And I think the first one, which again I see with a lot of men, is lack of self-worth. I was a middle child and I had an older brother. And at primary school, he was always a year ahead of me. And I always went into the same grade that he was. And almost every year, I'd hear the same words from teachers: "Why aren't you more like your brother?" and so I'm a kid. I'm like, I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, hearing "Why aren't you more like your brother?" So processing in this little brain was not good enough as you are. And it's interesting how that drove me to prove that I was good enough. And again, I see a lot of this with men that just don't feel good enough or worthy enough. Got to go out and prove it. So for me, the tantrums weren't working. Running away from home only gave me short-term comfort. And so I thought, if I'm going to get attention and I'm going to be validated, I need to do something big. And I just made this crazy illogical decision that I'm going to be an athlete. and that's why I call myself an unlikely athlete, because I really wasn't that good at it. I mean, it was this skinny little sooky mama's boy. But I had this, I thought, okay, professional athlete in front of a massive crowd, adored, admired, I'll feel good about me. And, obviously very flawed thinking, but, when you're that age, I was probably a teenager at the time, and relentlessly off I went. And at the age of 16, I ended up getting invited to come and train at the St Kilda Footy Club. For those of you that are not Australian, you'll have no idea what that means. For those of you that are Australian, you'll know that's one of the professional national teams here. And now this is back in the 80s when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And so I ended up playing 7 years at St Kilda, and I'm proud of what I achieved. Did I ever feel better about myself? Not for a moment. And it just led me to want to chase more and try and find more. The other thing that significantly impacted me as a man was in the 1980s at a pretty toxic professional club. The examples of men in some ways were amazing, the dedication, the discipline, but in a lot of ways the abuse, coaching was abusive. The shut up, don't show weakness, don't cry, get up, jog it out, the jog it out principle. Broken leg, that's okay, jog it out. And
walk it off.
Walk it off. And just watching men behave badly, misogynistic behaviour, just treating women, objectification to the max. And I was a teenager, I was 16 years old there. And for the next 7 years, this was my modelling to be a man. So as you can imagine, that's impacted my life for the last, I'm 61 now. That's impacted my life for decades. And I've had to undo and unlearn and heal and so much stuff. And it's led me through 3 marriages, 3 divorces. But it's all, it's led me into businesses that have failed miserably. But it's also led me to a place where I know where my mission is, my purpose is, and what I can offer, not just men and boys, but everyone.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you mentioned you're an accidental author?
Yep.
So you got to tell us about this. Sure, I've done a little bit of writing, and it's hard work for me. So,
well, let me tell you, I had done none when I decided to write my first book. I'd never even thought about writing a book. It was never on my goal list. It was never something that I aspired to. English was my worst subject by a long way. I didn't, at that stage when I made this decision to write a book, I didn't read, I didn't write. I had 2 businesses working 7 days a week. I had no time, no background, no skills, no qualifications, no idea what I was doing. And it really was a random decision. I'll tell you why I made the decision. Well, I mentioned I had 2 businesses. I was a personal trainer working about 80 hours a week. And for some ridiculous reason, I decided to buy a cafe and try and think I could run 2. Again, this is this man thing. The harder I work, the more successful I'll be, the more validated I'll feel. Ended up working 7 days a week in 2 businesses. The cafe failed miserably. I ended up in $100,000 debt, and in one of the darkest places I have been. And I was not far from saying, "Okay, I'm over this now. I just want to end it." But thankfully, I didn't. Yeah. What happened in that moment was I just questioned my life, and I asked myself, and this is a question, I want everyone to hear this. The question I asked myself was, Andrew, how do you want to live? Because this isn't it. Rather than what are you going to do? What do you want to do? Because I realized that what do you want to do question got me here. Yeah. So the question was, Andrew, how do you want to live? And I sat in that moment, that dark moment, visualizing this life that was almost a fantasy land where I felt good about me, a life where I was having a positive impact on lives, a life where I was making money. And I was loving every moment of my life. So I'm sitting there in this fantasy world, and out of nowhere, and honestly, out of nowhere, as a Christian, I now know that was God just planted that seed in my mind, was write a book. And I'm sitting there going, what do you mean write a book? I can't write a book. I'm a footballer. Footballers don't write, they grunt. And but something in me moved me to go, Andrew, you need to do this. So without any idea what I was doing, working 7 days a week in 2 businesses, finding pockets of time every day. But over the next couple of years, I wrote and published my first book, which became a best-selling book, and that was 2004. And my life changed in that moment of decision when I decided I'm going to do this, and this is going to create this vision that I have for my life. And I've been living that life for many years now. I retired from personal training a couple of years later. I got out of debt, and I've now written 8 books, 9th coming, and help mentor authors. And I really love my podcast I have now, and mentor people and do a lot of work with men. And I just it's just this now. I can see that everything I've been through in my life has led me to this moment where nothing's bad. Nothing bad has happened to me. It's all happened for me to be who I need to be an example, create a ripple effect that can impact lots of lives.
That's amazing, Andrew. No, look, that's very inspirational to me. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to know, Andrew, is there a singular or momentary event or trigger that you look back on and would put your finger on and say, that was the moment or that was the season? Where did it start to turn around for you?
Well, I think that moment I decided to write a book, that was one moment, right? And that sort of led me to really, I guess, identifying a vision for my life. But probably more significant moment was when my 3rd marriage ended, and that was just before COVID, and I spiraled into like self-hatred, self-loathing, and then, as we all know, what happened in early 2020, the world, and I live in Melbourne, the most locked down city in the world, and I found myself isolated in a house with all alone with the person I liked the least.
Wow.
And I was faced with a choice, and that choice was either deal with it or hide from it. Now, my previous pattern was hide from it, distract myself, go out and drink and mates and dates and all kinds of stuff. But I was forced to deal with me, to understand me, to learn to accept and love me, to get closer with my relationship with God, to reach out to people that I knew could help, reading books. And the guy that you guys know, Dr. Alan Meyer, who's a great friend of mine, it was his book, From Good Man to Valiant Man, that started this journey of identifying who I was and why I did the things I did, why I behaved the way I had over the years, to start to go, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I always thought I was broken. I thought I was broken. I kept saying, Andrew, what is wrong with you? And what I realized was there's nothing wrong with me, that I am who I am, and my flaws are my greatest strength. The things I've been through are the platform I get to stand on to help and inspire other people. And over probably a 2-year period, certainly quite an intense 6-month period where it was tough, life changed, and I'm a different man now and more inspired than ever to talk to men and writing. And now one of my books, my next book or one of my books is called The Male Machine, and that is for men and women to try and understand how this crazy machine works, because I still don't get it, but a lot of the things I've learned have given me some insights that have really helped enormously.
Yeah, brilliant. We appreciate you sharing your story. It's such an important factor in the journey of the whole thing we're celebrating today, is that there are men out there watching who need to hear stories of men who struggled, but were able to bounce back from that and to locate some keys and some tools that help them to make a turnaround, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We'll just wrap up. We'll have to leave it there, Andrew. We've run out of time, but quickly, where can people get your books? And maybe in closing, what would your message be to the men of the world watching? What would you like to say to the men on International Men's Day?
Well, I think the message is pretty clear. You're not broken.
Yep.
Your past is not your future. You can use what you've been through, and I know a lot of men struggle a lot because they've been through abuse or some kind of trauma, and they lack that worth. You are God's creation. You are good enough. You are valuable because you exist, not because of anything you do. Yep. And I think the greatest insight for me was I'm good now. It's not because being an athlete was nice, but it didn't make me better than I am now or more loved than I am now. And what I'm doing now from a place of self-love, I'm doing what I do right. I do it because of self-love, not to get self-love. Yeah. I think the first step for every man, every human really, is to just love themselves and know that they're good enough as they are. If people want to find me, my website is Jobling, that's jobling.com.au, and everything they want there.
Great. I think are we putting that in the chat, Andrew? So yeah, great. Thank you. Well, look, thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for sharing your story. And
welcome.
Yeah.
Good on you for what you're doing, man. You're doing an awesome job.
Oh, thanks, mate. No, look, thank you for your time. And happy International Men's Day, mate.
Thanks, Andrew.
You too. See you guys.